Hello everyone and welcome to the first Salford Pride podcast. My name's Graham and I'm the Design, Marketing and Events Manager for Salford Pride.
Yes, hello and welcome. My name is Chris and I'm on the publicity for Salford Pride. My voice went a bit strange, didn't it? Publicity. I went up, didn't I? But it works.
It does. So welcome to this first podcast. We're going to talk all about Salford Pride and obviously the main event that's coming up in 4 weeks' time, which is, well actually no, it's not 4 weeks. By the time everyone listens to this, it will be 2 weeks to go.
Which is very, very exciting.
Absolutely.
We're almost there.
I know, so we're kind of stressing out now in terms of making sure everyone knows about the picnic, and that is why we've decided to do this first podcast. So, Salford Pride, or the Pink Picnic, started back in 2011, and we're now on our 8th picnic.
Well done, you got it.
I got it right. And obviously people are starting to question now, well, we're seeing Salford Pride, what's that mean? And basically, so Salford Pride is obviously the umbrella organisation. We organise lots and lots of different events, and the Pink Picnic is our annual summer Pride Festival in the park.
Yeah, I think the picnic sounds a bit nicer as well. I quite like it. Yeah. Doesn't it? It sounds like a nice, just nip to the park and have a picnic.
Yes.
That's kind of a way of agreeing with it. But I agree. I think Salford Pride is a good brand umbrella for us to go under.
Absolutely. And I think like it's, it's a family-friendly orientated event. I know people don't necessarily like that term, but it's for us. You can bring your picnic to the event and be entertained by lots of people, which we'll go into a little bit later.
We definitely will. More information on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
So, as part of this first podcast, we have invited quite a lot of our sponsors to come along. But our first guest is none other than Con Austin Bean, who is the LGBT advisor to the City Mayor.
Hi, how are you doing?
We're good. Hello. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm glad we worked out how many years it was. Because there was a little bit of debate, wasn't there? We got there.
In fact, we can have 2 birthdays, which I think's quite...
A bit like the Queen.
Very much so.
Well,
makes it even camper.
I share one birthday with the Queen. 21st of April.
You do.
We are. I feel like
two.
Yeah.
Talk to her all the time. We're
How's your tiara?
It's at home. Shiny in a minute.
I was going to say, it's got to the jewellers ready for the picnic.
It definitely has.
Awesome. So basically, Carl, thank you so much for giving up your evening to come and talk to us about Pride in more general. And obviously, we'll ask you a few questions about you, about your role. And obviously, I'm sure you want to get back to your little one at home.
I do, baby Willow.
Okay, so why is LGBT plus important?
I just think it creates the whole diversity. I think it's important, the fact that there's so many people that, if you look at Greater Manchester, there's over 220,000 people who conform to as part of LGBT, which is the size of Rochdale. So if we're looking at a borough, the community would fit in one of Greater Manchester's boroughs if we put them all together and we had one massive Pride event. Then do you know what I mean?
That that'd be quite cool, wouldn't it?
It'd be quite exciting.
It really would.
Forget the village, we've got a whole borough.
Yes.
We need to market that bad boy.
That's definitely it. So people know you, Carl, then, as kind of the first openly gay Lord Mayor that came out. Kind of talk to us about what it was like to be within that role then.
Right, yeah. So I was on the council. When I first got on the council, I realised that Manchester used to lead the way when it came to LGBT diversity and equality. And I think when I was on the council, I think that I realised that, we were great in the 80s, early 90s, but I think as a council, we sort of lost our way for the past 20 years and maybe weren't as diverse as what we should have been. And I realised that we needed to sort of try and up the mark a little bit. And then also became the LGBT lead on the council. And then while I was there, I always realised that, we've got a Lord Mayor that's supposed to represent communities, represent the people of Manchester. Yet it had always been someone probably 65, 70 plus, majority of men. Yeah, they looked a bit like the Fat Controller out of Thomas the Tank Engine, and some did. And I just thought, you know what, if we're going to represent the communities that we're supposed to be, then we need to be more diverse when it comes to the Lord Mayor. When you're the first citizen representing 700,000 people. So I then put the challenge out there to sort of become the Lord Mayor. And at first, there was a few people like, what do you know about the city? What do you know about this? I was thinking, I'm Manchester through and through. I've been involved with Manchester's gay scene and Manchester's scene for many, many years. And so I just sort of put myself forward. And the first time I did it, I got 41 votes, and the person who got it got 42. So I sensed that, if I give it a bit of push, we can do this. So then I spoke to the councillors, because you voted for by councillors, and I just put my case out there. So the following year, I managed to get 58 votes compared to 32. And I'll be honest, there was probably a few people who voted for me to see me fail, but people do that.
You prove them wrong, though,
Yeah,
didn't you?
Yeah,
exactly.
I'd like to think so. And then what happened when the press office at the council came together, they just put out new Lord Mayor, Councillor Carl Austin being. And then so I thought, no, we need to emphasise the fact of first open the gay Lord Mayor. And they were dead reluctant about that because they were like, well, if we say first open the gay Lord Mayor, it might mean that there's been a gay Lord Mayor in the past. And I'm thinking, well, you're not telling me in 24 years that there hasn't been a gay one before. So I was like very bold about it. And the reason I did that was because back in the day, I've done various things. I was Mr. Gay UK. I was in the Air Force. I've been a fireman. So there's quite a lot of history with myself. And if we'd have gone there and sort of said, first Lord Mayor, the Lord Mayor of Manchester, Carl Austin, for a fact that there's someone like the Mail on Sunday, some of the tabloids, following me being announced, would have turned around and gone, shock, horror, new Lord Mayor happens to be gay, the porn shame. And there was no porn out there, but they would have turned it into something.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just thought, right, be completely transparent. And do you know what? It worked brilliantly.
Yeah.
And it engaged with so many communities, not just within the LGBT community, because there was people from a lot of faith backgrounds. I was invited to mosques, to temples, to synagogues, to various places of worship to hear my story. And it was all, I remember when we broke Eid one night, went to an iftar, and we literally, I put a tweet out that I was there with the imam having a meal, and the Guardian picked it up and then ran a story about how what the communities were like in Manchester and how sort of diverse they were, and about the fact that we do celebrate each individuality. So that was the reason why, and I literally realised straight away that it wasn't about going to communities and just screaming LGBT. It was about going to communities and speaking about equality, diversity, inclusion, and respect.
Yeah. I think intersectionality is so important as well, because obviously being LGBT plus is just one of our identifiers, and your role has been able to kind of break down some of those barriers to enable actually you can be LGBT plus and you are all a plethora of different labels as well.
Exactly, and it doesn't matter what race, what creed, what religion you are. It just sort of all encompasses one, and I think I managed to do that well in a way that people felt, you know what, I'm not going there, I'm not preaching to people, I'm not going out there to sort of turn people gay, and I'm not going out there to do it in a different way. It's just about being yourself. And I think that was something that sort of stood out, and that's something I was really proud about. And something that, over that year as Lord Mayor, we managed to really sort of deliver on that.
Definitely.
I think by doing that, you've kind of made Greater Manchester a bit more accepted in general, I would say, because you think that, like you say, you didn't go out there just promoting, I'm gay, let's all talk about LGBT. It was kind of, I'm here for equality. That's it.
Yeah, and I think because after my year as Lord Mayor, I was still a councillor for a year afterwards. And I was still going back, and I still do now, go to a lot of schools, go to businesses, talk about equality in the workplace, talk about schools, talk about different things to sort of engage with communities. And I think that was one of the reasons why, after the LGBT Action Plan was launched in 2017, Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham, he put his name to quite a lot of, to agree to quite a few things that were in there. And unfortunately, at the time, I think the action plan was just sort of sitting there. But then which was a first for anywhere in the country and the world, to have an LGBT advisor, and he asked me if I'd do it, and he appointed me to be the LGBT advisor to the combined authority, but also to him as well personally, as the Mayor of Greater Manchester, to make sure we are breaking down barriers, to make sure that we are looking at inequalities within health, within valuing older people, within young people. So it is a full sort of a spectrum within a spectrum, really, of making sure that everyone is we're covering all aspects possible.
Yeah. So you've touched on your new role there as LGBT advisor to Andy Burnham. So it's a new role.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about that role and kind of what have you been doing over the past 12 months while you've been having that role?
Right. Well, part of it was about sort of breaking down barriers, breaking down stereotypes. But then what I've also managed to do is, because over the whole 10 boroughs, I mean, doing it in Manchester is fine. We've got a grey village, we've got everything that takes place, we've got everything that goes on in Manchester. But then if we look at sort of your Salfords, your Rochdales, your Wigan, your Boltons, you look at everywhere else, and there's there's such a lack of services, but also, you know, there's a lack of certain people understanding what people a part of the LGBTQ plus family are about. So I've managed to speak. I went round and spoke to all the leaders of all the 10 boroughs to explain what I wanted to do. To look at making sure they had staff networks, to make sure that they had groups within their within forums, within their own councils that are working together within the NHS, within Great Manchester Police, within colleges, within universities, within youth work, to make sure that there was a broad spectrum within that people could work together. So that's one thing that's been a part of that. And then also on top of that, it's to sort of go around and share best practices and give people. It's a bit like networking, but I do all the networking and then try and pass on the contacts to everybody else and find out what's happening in Wigan and what's happening in Tameside. And one thing that's been great about this year is, and it was sort of something that was put in the plan, but it wasn't sure if it was realistic, was to make sure that all 10 boroughs this year, for the first time ever, will have a Pride event, their own local Pride event. That also means that we've also got Pride events and local Pride events that have either taken place or taking place in Whalley Range, in Levenshulme, in Didsbury. They've sort of come together to have their own individual small prides.
Yeah.
And we'll come on to Soulful Pride in a bit, but it's about making sure that it has that focus that people, we can have a big event. You can see your main acts and all that sort of stuff in Manchester, and there's a place for that, but there's also a place for local prides where it brings communities together.
Yeah, and it makes it slightly more accessible as well in terms of the local prides, because often they are completely free. They're in their local towns or cities. They sometimes can be at the bottom of the street. So obviously, Manchester Pride has its place in terms of the big weekend, but obviously, some people who may live in the upper end of Bury can't get all the way into Manchester.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, who'd have thought 5 years ago somewhere like Wigan had to have its own Pride event and a parade?
Absolutely,
I can go back 10, 15 years ago when, if you were gay in Manchester, Birmingham, London, Brighton, fantastic, no problem at all. Live in Rochdale, live in Bury, live anywhere that wasn't part of that central thing, you were such an outcast.
Yeah.
And now to sort of think that the popularity of LGBT characters on TV has made a massive difference, but then having local prides where families do come together, and I know what you said before about the fact that some people don't like the family-friendly sort of scope, but that's what you need.
Yeah.
That's what we need to break down the barriers, and also to let that 7 or 8 year old who is growing up in a school where it might be, religion or whatever saying that, it's wrong, there's something wrong with you if you have these feelings, but to let them see people walking down a street with rainbow flags, holding hand in hand, and then their families being a part of that, whether they're pushing a pram or they've got their mum and dad with them, to let them feel that they can be themselves, and the fact that they can see that it's normal to have these feelings will make such a massive difference on their mental health and well-being as they grow up.
Absolutely.
So I think it is vital that people do celebrate their own life, and it doesn't really matter whether it is about LGBT. It's about being yourself. It's about accepting who you are. If you don't conform to normality, if you're a bit of a loner and you see this, then it makes you feel like, there's a place for me. I don't need to be sat in my bedroom wondering what the heck I am.
Yeah. That kind of goes on. It kind of answers our next question effectively, and kind of why you think local prides are important, and that's specifically it, isn't it? Is that so that all generations, no matter who you are or where you're from, you can see that acceptance is everywhere.
And I use the example then of young people, but then also let's use the example of older people who have gone through a period of life where you could be put to prison for being gay. I mean, people who do know me know that I was in the Air Force, got kicked out. I could have gone to military prison for 6 months, and that was only 22 years ago.
Yeah.
So these people who are older, who are in their 50s and 60s, who have seen the fact of how you would have been treated back then, you would have been, we look at things that are going on even around the world now, and they've got that sort of insular sort of thing. They want to be kept to themselves. So the fact that they now feel at the age of 65, 70 plus, thinking, do you know what? I've lived my life such in secret. I've lived it in a double life. It now means that I can be myself. I can come to this event, and do you know what? This might be the first time for some 65-year-old to actually feel true to themselves.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
No, absolutely. And
I don't think anyone could put it better, really,
No.
than that, isn't it? It hits all generations, doesn't it? No matter what, and it
absolutely.
It's I mean, it's unbelievable to think that, like you say, 22 years ago, you kicked out of the RAF for being gay. It just doesn't seem.
But then going to prison for it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For 6 months.
Completely.
Yeah.
It blows my mind every time.
I go into schools and I tell people that story, and school kids are just like, "What? They just don't get it."
Yeah.
And what I remember doing a school over in Reddish Vale, and I'm telling them my story, and they were absolutely gobsmacked with the fact of not just being kicked out, but especially with the going to prison thing. But it then made me realise that those children then weren't born till like 2003, 2004. So then they've never sort of experienced that. But then on the upshot of that, it also made me realise that in another 10 years, same-sex couples, same-sex marriage, two guys with a baby, two women with a baby will be the norm.
Yeah.
And no one will think anything differently about that, especially younger people. And this is why it's vital to get into schools and tell young people about relationship education.
Yeah.
And as they get older, the sexual side. But let's look at relationships to let them know. I knew when at the age of 7 that I was gay, but it wasn't a word you'd use. I hated myself because I felt I was different. I didn't feel I was, I felt a bit of a freak. But if they know that this is just normal, it's right to feel. As long as you've got emotions and you feel like you're in love with someone, or you've got feelings for that person, there is nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
And that is what is important, to let them realise that, and the fact that it's vital that young people get that education. And you know what? The value of that is those young people then become the educators. They go home and tell their brothers and their sisters that it's okay to be gay.
Yeah.
And then the challenge then is with the parents, who are the ones that have got the bigoted views, or the ones that are homophobic, who need to be sort of just explain the fact that, we're looking at what's going on at the moment within schools now and about religion. You get taught about religion. We don't get taught about being gay because we're not being taught. We don't have to be taught about being gay because that's who we are.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't get taught how to be be straight, so what is the difference?
Absolutely, I completely agree. Thank you so
Sorry,
much.
that was a bit of a tangent then, wasn't
it's
it?
fine. And I
Don't
think
worry.
that's what we want. We've got part of this podcast that, that's mine and Chris's kind of vision, and we talk about things that are subject matter related in terms of the hard-hitting subjects, and also the fun side as well. So
I think it's good for people to hear your passion for it, because then they know that you're the right person for that job. Who better to be trying to connect local prides and local, like, all the boroughs together, than someone that's got a story like yours, and someone that's been through rejection for being gay. And I just think it's important that we have someone like yourself do that and pass it on to people and just start.
I was very fortunate in terms of growing up. Obviously, I came out at a young age. Obviously, the only blip I've had is when I was at school, and I was my parents were asked to take me out of school, and for my own safety, I'm like, every boy in the class thought I fancied them. I really didn't.
Yeah.
But do you know what I mean? But that hasn't affected me in terms of life. I've been able to grow and get that. Obviously, Carl, you've known me for a number of years now. And obviously, I met you in the village a number of years ago, and it's a case of, you were I'm thinking of, it's not icon, it's more of a kind of, you're a leader within the community, and you can kind of go to you and talk to you about stuff. And 9 months ago you said, well, why don't you get involved with the picnic? 9 months later, here I am.
No, I'm glad you did that. I remember having that conversation.
So, it's all about driving things forward and obviously enabling other young people to see us. Like, at the picnic this year, we've got the first ever youth zone. So that enables young people to come together. So if they're living in Salford, and a bit like, I'm not too sure if I want to be out or not, they could go to that youth zone, not saying they are gay, straight or whatever. They could go to that space and kind of just be themselves. We're not asking them to out themselves. It's not about you've got to be LGBT to go in that zone. It's about engaging with other young people who may be similar to you, or you're just an ally and you want to support them.
And that's the point I was going to pick up then with ally, because there'll be so many people within that youth zone who might not be gay, but you know what? They might have friends at school who then, if their mates at school who are gay that are scared of coming out, know that their friend has been to a pride event and is tolerant, then they're going to know that they can come out and speak to them and feel comfortable and feel that they're not going to get ridiculed. They're not going to have any sort of, they're going to feel comfortable within that person to sort of know that they can just be true to them. Yeah. And one thing I will, just before I sort of shut up, because I know you're looking at me, but I just want to say that one thing that is vital for the small community pride events is the support you get from the community, but also the support you get from other organisations
Yeah.
within the area that you're in. And I think you've done really well this year. I think you've really sort of for Salford. I think you've really sort of upped the game. I think you've really managed to draw in some fantastic sponsors.
Yeah.
And you've done it in a way that they want to be a part of it.
Absolutely.
It's, you know, from what I've gathered, it's not been a case of you sort of going out and sort of please. It's a case of they've seen how much of a difference it is, and that they've approached you to say, look, we want to be a part of this because we understand and we want to give you our love, but our support, and also the acknowledgement to know how important it is. So I just want to say a massive thank you to all the sponsors and all the people that you have got on board, because I know it's them that want to be a part of you, as well as you wanting to be a part of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for coming in. I want to end on one burning question I've always wanted to know. Do you have that pink robe back at home? Did they let you keep it, or did they take it back off you?
What happened was, I'd managed to get a company that I did some work with. They managed to make it. It should have been about $5,000, that robe.
Okay.
They managed to do it for £500. Someone put in a freedom of information to the council because they disagreed with the fact of having this robe paid by the council. We managed to get someone to buy that robe.
Yeah.
They then donated it to Manchester Pride.
Yeah.
A friend of mine paid $3,500 for it.
Yeah.
So they've got it, but if I ever wanted it, I could wear it.
Well, you see, I know you come to the picnic because I believe you're one of the judges on the Doggy Fashion Show this year.
I am now,
Dogs and Divas are hosting that.
Look awesome.
So I think the robe may need to come out, or just walk around the park. Especially if it's we're hoping for sunshine, but you never know. You may need a light jacket here in Salford.
Yeah. Well, it's the weather of Greater Manchester, isn't it? You never know whether you need an umbrella or shorts.
I mean, last year was just phenomenal, wasn't it?
Great. We brought our event forward this year because obviously,
fingers crossed, we've got it.
We're praying to everyone at the moment that we get the sunshine. Although you'll probably, if it's raining, you probably won't find any of the event managers. Will be hiding somewhere under the shelter with everyone else at the picnic. So thank you once again, Carl, for giving up your time and joining us. And we'll see you all on the 22nd of June.
You will. Thank you very much.
This year's Pink Picnic takes place on Saturday the 22nd of June in Peel Park, Salford, between 1 a.m. and 8 p.m. This year's headliners are Lloyd Daniels, Kelly Wilde, Suri, Jordan Gray, and the original Living Joy. New for 2019, we have the Youth Zone, so if you're a young person across Salford, make sure you check that out. Also new for 2019 is a doggy pageant show, which has been delivered by Dogs and Divas. Furthermore, we have the Absolute VIP tent. So for just £20, you can buy a ticket, you'll get your first 3 drinks, free food, and also meet and greet every single main stage act. It also gives you queue jump access to the after party. In our exhibition space, there is over 20 organisations for you to meet and greet to find out more what happens in Salford. We have the LGBT Foundation, we have the Fire Brigade, the police, the Proud Trust, and many, many more. So don't forget to come down to the Pink Picnic in Peel Park on Saturday the 22nd of June, a free Pride event in Salford, Greater Manchester. And we are now joined by Fergal from BNY Mellon to talk to us about why they've decided to support Salford Pride in 2019. Hello, welcome to the first podcast.
Great to be here. Thanks.
Cool. So, lots of the questions that we get asked as a committee keep saying to us, what is BNY Mellon? So the first question is, what is BNY Mellon?
Okay. So BNY Mellon, we are a large investment company. We're about 235 years old. You may have heard of the musical Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually about the life of Alexander Hamilton, who created BNY Mellon 235.
Oh, wow, okay. Well, I love a good musical though as well, don't we?
Very good music.
Always.
Didn't someone who wrote the music for that then wrote the music for Beauty and the Beast? Am I completely making that up? I'm awful at musicals.
You're looking at everybody else and we're looking at your blank face.
Yeah, okay.
So we'll move on.
Move on very swiftly.
So with you being an investment kind of company, why have you decided this year is the right year to work with Salford Pride?
Okay, so we're proud to be the headline sponsor for the Pink Picnic this year. At a BNY Mellon level globally, we have a huge commitment to diversity and inclusion. We've actually got 6 employee relation groups who are specifically set up within the bank to further the diversity and inclusion network within our company. From the very top of our EC level, we have our CEO, who is incredibly committed to diversity and inclusion across the company. At a Manchester level, we've obviously been involved in PRISM for many, many years and done many, many events locally in Manchester and indeed around Salford. But this year, given that it's the 50-year anniversary of Stonewall, we felt it was really important that we did something extra special in Manchester to commemorate that.
Excellent. So obviously you talked like you've done some events in Manchester. So obviously we are in Greater Manchester, but we are very proud to be a local pride in Salford. So why did BNY Mellon decide to go, do you know what, out of all the prides that they could have supported, why did they choose Salford?
Were we first?
Are we the first pride you've picked to support?
No, so we've done various different elements of Pride, but this is the first year we've actually picked a specific Salford Pride to be the sponsor of.
And I know we're very grateful for being our headline sponsor.
100%. And the way I was going to go with it, I kind of think sometimes it's really great to hear that businesses and organisations are very LGBT inclusive and they're all about equality and they're very good at shouting the headlines. I think you touched on it slightly there, how you've got groups within the bank that actually support people that work within the bank and customers at the same time. Is that like a staff support network that's in there that can help people feel it's acceptable, like that the bank is accepting and
yeah,
open?
absolutely. So these employee resource groups, as I mentioned, we've got them for WIN, so women's initiatives. We've got them for PRISM, obviously, for LGBT+. We've got various different other ones. I guess what they are very tangible manifestations of the company's commitment to diversity and inclusion. So absolutely, they're a network of employees who promote those individuals within the company. So we do women's events, we do the PRISM events, etc. But what we're trying to do is make sure that diversity and inclusion is diversity and inclusion. So we try and do it through bringing all of those 6 employee groups together to do a lot of these events. So as you said, we've done a lot in Manchester. We recently did an excellent panel event where we set up real role models. And the whole purpose was to bring individuals from PRISM, from WIN, from Gen Edge, all these different employee relation groups, and have an open and honest discussion about how diversity and inclusion really is at the forefront of what we should be doing, not only from a business point of view. I mean, it makes sense to have employees that are from a variety of different backgrounds, different diversities. That brings a much better thought process into how we do business. It also supports our clients because they want us to bring up innovative new solutions. So you can only do that if you start to think through a diverse lens. And it's also important for us very much within the communities we operate in that we give back. So in terms of when you ask about Salford Pride, it's really important that BNY Mellon not only operates within Manchester, and we've got over 1,300 employees here already and still growing, that we wanted to make sure that we put the stamp of approval on some of these events that are happening locally.
I think it's really good, and it's really nice to actually hear that it's not just a headline that you're trying to grab. It's not a BNY Mellon are open and inclusive with this or that. You've actually got the proof that's there, haven't you? You've got your staff networks that are working up, and you're really aiming towards that.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
Kind of, it's more of a value rather than we're here for the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, our CEO nicely coined it recently, Charlie Scharf. He said that when diversity and inclusion is something you hear the chairperson talk about or the CEO talk about, it's really a priority. But when you hear everyone talk about it within the company, it's really part of the culture. And that's something that those ERGs are very much part of, not only the Manchester Bank and New York Mellon culture, but indeed the wider culture.
Which is massive in itself, isn't it, really? I think businesses and organisations talking to each other about how they can improve the lives of people being who they are, I think that's a massive thing. So.
And we've done a lot of that in Manchester, where we've brought some of the other banks or the other institutions together on these panel events.
Okay.
And it was just a really rich conversation, not just through the gender or the sexual orientation lens, but just this much wider conversation around diversity and inclusion.
Absolutely. I mean, the Pink Picnic, obviously, as it was first formed, started in 2011, and we are growing and growing as an organisation. So to work with organisations like yourself, to have representation on these panels is a huge thing for us. It's not, localism is very important to us in Salford, and, being engaging with companies like yourself just takes us to that next level of our evolution as an organisation.
I think it's, and I'll say it again, I've said it before, I think it's really refreshing and really exciting to hear that businesses have actually, it's not, because you get so many that are grabbing the headlines there for the weekend and turning up, we support LGBT rights, but then the rest of the year you don't really hear or see from them. So I just think it's really refreshing to actually hear of an organisation that, that this is who
one
we
element.
are, this is what we're doing. We're not here just to
it's baked it's baked into our everyday culture.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It's amazing. Okay, so you mentioned you have 1,300 staff there, so we've got room for them all. So please do bring them along to the Pink Picnic on Saturday, the 22nd of June. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
You will, absolutely. I can't wait for it. Thank you so much.
For the first time in 2019, the Pink Picnic will be hosting an official after party in conjunction with the University of Salford Students' Union. The event will start at 8 p.m. following the Pink Picnic, and it will finish at 1 a.m. Where is it? It's a stone's throw from the Pink Picnic site. You can expect live DJs, live acts. It's completely free, but you do need to order a ticket because space is limited. For more details, go to fatsoma.com/Soul4Pride. We are now super excited to be joined by Nikki and Gavin from Booper. Hello.
Hello.
How are you? Are you all right?
Yeah, good. Thanks to be here.
Sorry, that was a bit delayed, wasn't it? Oh, hello. How are you?
Are you still here, Chris?
I'm talking to the microphone, Graham.
Well,
We're over
yes,
here, Chris. Over here.
The producer's been shouting at me through, I would say through a glass window, but we're not that posh over here. No, thank you so much for giving up your time to join us on the first ever Soul for Pride podcast. So we're here to talk, obviously, why Booper are going to be sponsoring the Pink Picnic this year.
Yes, we are. Our first one, and we can't be prouder and happier, and we just want to get involved as best we can. It's amazing to do this for our first year.
Okay, so the first question we've got to ask you is why did Booper decide to support the Pink Picnic, aka Soul for Pride?
We were really happy last year for the first time since I've been working at Booper. We were involved with Manchester Pride. This year, we decided that we wanted to get involved with the community more. We felt because Manchester Booper is based actually in Salford, that the best place for us to be to become louder and to get our voices out there, that we were a very diverse company to work for, that one of the places that we could come to and show off who we are and what we are now would be to come to Salford Pride. It was one of those sort of like awe-inspiring moments, really, when we realised that we could become a sponsor, because all we wanted to do was come along and enjoy ourselves.
Yeah.
So becoming a sponsor was a huge achievement for us. We are only a group of people that do this on a voluntary side.
Okay.
So we've got our normal jobs at Booper, and we also have diversity at Booper as well.
Totally relate, because we're all volunteers as well. People think that this is our main role, and it really isn't.
I think over the past 6 months, it has, for me and for Gavin, it's sort of exploded in front of us, where we started out with a group of maybe 6 or 7 people. This diversity sort of started in a place called Coventry, for those that haven't heard of it. It's a place in the middle of the country.
I've been. It's fine.
It's a beautiful place.
I drove through it.
And a lady called Angela Kay had a kind of mind-blowing experience when she said, let's do something really diverse for the staff here at Coventry. So we have an office in Coventry as well. So from there, that's how diversity grew. And then we had a conversation, myself and Ange, one afternoon whilst doing Comic Relief. And she said to me, well, actually, we're doing Coventry Pride this year. And I was like, sorry, say that again? So she repeated herself. And that's how we kind of got going with all the Pride events, and diversity grew from being 3 people at the Coventry office to now I think we have nearly 200 people.
That's amazing.
Across
really good.
sort of like all the way down to Brighton.
Yeah.
To Staines. We're starting now to get other people involved at Booper Place up here in Manchester as well. So that little acorn has now grown and grown and grown and grown. We're still only a little sapling as far as me and Ange are concerned.
Yeah.
But we are growing and we are getting stronger.
But you've had that conversation, and you've been able to kind of go, we're in Salford Pride around the corner, let's sponsor the Pink Picnic.
And that was exactly our thoughts. Myself and Gavin got together a few months ago to start arranging Manchester Pride. And then Gavin turned around and said, well, hang on a minute. There's this little pride here in Salford.
Little. We're
Well,
growing. We're growing.
Well,
We're growing.
yeah.
Compared to Manchester Pride, we have a lot smaller.
A lot smaller. And I was like, well, hang on a minute. Surely that's what we want. We want the community to get involved. We want them to see that Booper is a great place to work. And Booper is a diverse company to work for, not just it's a corporate.
Yeah.
A corporate place with a huge, beautiful building in the middle of Salford.
Yeah.
Who are we and what are we? So that's when we sought more advice. We came to you guys and said, what can we do?
I think because we were talking to BMI Mellon earlier on, weren't they? And they're an organisation that he was saying for 200 and so many years, wasn't it?
230.
That they've kind of had these staff support networks that are in place. And I think it's really important to have them within organisations, because there are LGBT people and people of difference that work within these organisations, isn't there? So what made you think we need something in Booper to kind of make people feel accepted in the workplace?
I think it's a good thing to have if you've got any concerns and questions. A lot of people that may work at Booper are not out to family and friends, and it's good network to have that conversation if any support functions, and to realise that someone that actually we have like Booper diversity badges on our lanyard. So if anyone's got any questions, they can come and see us. But we don't just have the LGBT network. We also have a women's network, mental health, disability in workplace, BAME, and I always forget about the religion and the faith in the workplace one. Is that correct? I always forget that one.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's right.
There's many
Faith and
networks.
belief.
Faith and belief, that's the one.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
do have many other networks, not just LGBT,
Yeah.
MQI. We have other ones that do support, and therefore it is a very diverse company to work for, and they do want to try and help and give that best approach.
You were saying that Nikki, you were saying that it was quite a new thing that Coventry had kind of got involved with a Little Pride. How long has diversity then within Bupa kind of been going?
18 months to 2 years.
Okay.
I'll put that
Oh,
kind of-
amazing.
It's one of those, for me, it's always been really, really, really important that people have a voice. And one of the things that I keep repeating to my peers at work, to my stakeholders at work, is we need to be more diverse. We need to be more open. We need to have these conversations that some people don't like having.
Okay.
The difficult conversations, the ones where we can turn around to a team member and say, well, maybe you could have placed that question a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
I might be a missus, but does that mean I'm married to a man? You don't necessarily have that conversation. And there is those difficult conversations that some managers don't like having, where diversity are there to step in.
Yeah.
And that's what I think we are about. We're not just about looking pretty on the sidelines.
Yeah.
We're there about holding somebody's hand when they need help. And whether that is LGBTQI, whether that is somebody that has mental health issues, we have to be able to step outside our little box and go, we can help you.
Yeah.
You don't have to be alone in this.
Mm-hmm.
And over the past few months, Gavin and myself have been privileged to be able to do that.
That's massive, isn't it? What a massive thing to be able to say that you're helping and supporting and guiding colleagues kind of just being themselves at work. That's a massive thing.
I think that's the key line, what you've just said, being yourself at work.
Yeah.
If you look at Bupa now, we've changed so much in the past few years. Our catch line now is hashtag be you at Bupa. And if you look around any Bupa office, there is a sign there that says be you at Bupa. Everybody's welcome.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
We don't want that to change.
No.
And that's where diversity come in even more so. And that to me is what we are about. We're not just about sitting back and going, you don't need our help.
Yeah.
We're here, but we're not going to help
Absolutely.
you. It's more about getting out there and making our voices heard. And as I keep saying, I've got a loud enough voice. I'm not going to stop talking
And
until
you
you
never
tell me
shuts up.
to.
I
Never
can
shuts
tell.
up. And it's important to have
And
people
I-
like you in your organisation to do that, because someone won't have a voice, and it needs people to have that voice for them too. So obviously you've covered a lot in terms of diversity. I mean, I love the t-shirts. It's really good that it's a clear message and bright colours, which is always important. But I just obviously want to touch on a little bit in terms of, obviously, you mentioned about being a local, you want to go back into the community. So in terms of what does Bupa do for the LGBT community? And obviously you talked about your staff. What about its patients?
Oh, gosh, good question.
Oh, that's a question.
There's a question and a half. Gosh. Okay. We're taking little steps.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important because I think we have to get it right.
Yeah.
We are currently working with Sparkle, the transgender
Charity, yeah.
charity. And we're now sort of like being able to change the way our system works.
Yeah.
So with that saying, now Bupa will cover different treatments. I need to be careful what I say.
Yeah,
No, it's
don't
fine.
worry. I think the key word that you said there is what was the key word that you said? You said it, and it went in my mind, and it's just completely gone.
I'll do playback, but we
Small
can't.
steps. Yeah.
Small steps.
So,
Oh, yeah. So,
I think
yeah.
the key thing that you said there is that it was small steps, and that's where everybody starts, isn't it? Everybody starts by, diversity, the staff support network that you've got, that started with how many people did you say? Four or five?
4 or 5 people.
4 or
in
5, and
Coventry,
look at how you've grown.
Yeah.
That, I think sometimes people think that, we're only doing little things, it's not really anything important, but it's those little things that add up that actually make a massive difference, isn't it?
I mean, we are spread we are across different sites as well. So we have got the main office in Manchester that a lot of us do work at, but we are spread across the country, and we've got Bupa centres, dentists.
Of course, yeah.
There's different variations, care homes that do get involved. So the network is expanding daily, and we are getting more
That's
involvement,
amazing.
and it is quite
It's actually
it's
quite
really good.
scary at
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
It's like I can go away for a few days and I can come back and all of a sudden my email box is full.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you look at it and half of it isn't work related, it's all diversity related.
Which is brilliant, isn't it?
Which is brilliant for us. Sometimes me and Gavin will sit there and go, whoa.
Yeah.
But it's like, we're looking to help more and more people. It
Yeah.
isn't just about the employees, it's about our customers as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is,
that's really important to us as well.
as Chris has said, and you said, the baby steps, tiny steps. Don't bite off more you can chew. Though that ethos is so important because obviously it could go wrong, and you open up a service and then go, we've had to pull it because it wasn't right. And I think Bupa, the ethos that you have is all about having the patient at the heart of everything that you do,
Yes.
and it's good to hear that that ethos is coming across in terms of the LGBT community as well, because you're going to support them, but over time it will take there.
It's also that we are Bupa's market leading, so really with our diversity group, we want to be like out there and lead as well to show actually this is what Bupa can do, this is what we are doing, and we want to get involved with other networks. So we do want to expand and help, and the community piece is actually quite a big thing for us at the minute to look at actually what can we do, not just around our sofa, but other areas around Manchester. So it's kind of like it's going to be a bigger and better experience.
Do you know, I was saying this before, wasn't I, with the last person we were talking to? It's so refreshing to hear organisations such as Bupa kind of saying, we're not just going to turn up for the weekend for the Pride Parade and go all rainbow. We're actually trying to get it within the value of the business and the organisation, and we're trying to get the people that are within the business to be talking about it and get the conversations going.
I think that you're 100% right. It isn't just about
turning up for the weekend.
Exactly.
You can't just do
I don't
that.
want to just wear the T-shirt.
Yeah.
I want to be able to wear the T-shirt every day.
Yeah.
And walk the walk and talk the
Definitely.
talk, and not just sit back at my desk on Monday morning after the Salford Pink Picnic and go,
That's
You tick
another
that
year.
box, that's done.
we've done that
Off we
now.
go, yeah.
Yeah, so that,
Precisely.
I think it's more about as well, we want to work with the LGBT Foundation, we want to work with Stonewall. There's so many different aspects where this can lead us to.
Absolutely.
And it's like I said right at the beginning, and you obviously picked up on that, we're taking tiny steps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And although we are probably not leading in this,
Yeah.
the idea is that we do lead with
Yeah.
this.
Exactly.
And we don't wait for other companies to sort of step on our toes. Not that anybody would, but I think one of the plans for us is that we start the community as a diversity group.
Yeah.
So it isn't just about Bupa, it's about other companies coming up to us and going, how can we help?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
do you do? And we've
Yeah.
already had one company come in and speak to diversity, basically sort of saying, how did you set this group up?
Mm-hmm.
And we've given them as much advice as we possibly
Yeah.
can.
I think what's brilliant as well is the fact that, you touched on it saying, this isn't just about that one Pink Picnic event. We're really pleased to say tonight that, this is the start of a relationship. Once the picnic's over, we can then start talking about, the Salford Pride element of the organisation in terms of the wider outreach work, in terms of, we'll have other events coming through, and Bupa will be very much part of our family. It's a relationship now, not just, thank you for sponsoring us, see you later, we'll nag you next year.
Exactly. We do want to get involved in more involved in the Salford Picnic, and also potentially doing hosting events at our head office and doing various events with you guys and seeing how like you said, our relationship can turn into a fantastic best friend approach, and we
Absolutely,
can get involved in. We do want to.
We don't want it just to be a little community. We want it to be the Salford community.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's what we're here all about as well.
It's not, we can sit in our little glass office,
Mm.
as a lot of people like to call it, in Salford and go, we've done that, we've done that, we've done
Yeah.
that, we've done that. That's not what we're about.
It's too easy. I think that's really easy for businesses to do, isn't it? You can put a rainbow up on your window. We support.
Yeah.
That's it. We're doing it great. But you've got to be able to walk the walk, effectively, haven't you?
Yes,
and talk the
exactly.
talk. You've got to be able to show it, not prove yourself to people. You just got to know in your heart that this is right and it's the right way to go forward, isn't it? Which is
100%, yeah.
Yeah, and I love the fact that obviously I'm doing all the marketing and design for Salford Pride, and it's good that you're not just going to put a rainbow flag in your window for a week before the event and go, yep, tick box. I love that element of it because my role is about taking the LGBT community to people like yourselves and go, right, how can you support us? And I think Bupa are in the prime position for that.
I'm all excited now. I don't know about you
Yeah.
guys, but I'm quite pumped now. It's quite.
So
let's
how
go
many
have the
people
picnic now?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a
only around the
growing
corner.
passion,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's
Yeah.
a growing
Yeah.
passion, and it's you start out with this little tiny idea, and you think, that's going to work.
It's kudos to you for doing that as well.
Yeah.
I
'Cause if
couldn't,
it's
I
someone
couldn't
like
sit
you-
back, and if I'm honest, I couldn't sit back anymore.
Yeah.
You see stuff happening, you hear people talking, or you don't hear people
Yeah.
talking sometimes, and then you think, well, actually, no. Let's get something started. We can't just stop at doing Manchester Pride.
Yeah.
We can't stop at just doing Salford Picnic. What else can we do?
Absolutely.
Who else can we support? Let's support the community because they're the people that really matter.
Absolutely.
I think what the way that you're going to get that done is because you care. This is what you want yourself, isn't it? It's not.
Yeah.
Booper isn't telling you to do this. You're doing this in your own time.
Yeah.
You're going in your own pace at doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
So I think that's how you know you're going to get somewhere with it.
Yeah, I think the BU, the ethos is obviously embedded into your culture, and it's really embedded into yourselves, and it's really coming across that you're passionate, you want to you're creative, and there's empathy just oozing out of you. So, and we've seen that even when you were
Careful, she'll
waiting.
start crying soon as well. She gets some type of moment.
No, it's
like,
fine.
Stop crying.
Okay, so we'll stop. But basically, so even when you were sat in the studio waiting for it to come in, it was amazing to see and watch. The
Thank you.
passion you've got there. So we're going to wrap up.
Yeah.
And I
Thank
think the
you very
last
much for
question.
coming in and
I've got one more
Thank you for
question.
the
Just one
invite.
more.
Oh, we've
I've
got
got one
one.
more
Okay,
question. Wrap
go
up
on.
question. Obviously, what are you looking forward to the most? Obviously, about coming to the picnic in 2 weeks' time when it comes out.
The unknown, because I've never done it before. So it's like, how do
Yeah.
we? I've been there to go there, but actually to be involved and see how we interact with other companies and
Yeah.
how we can actually build on our brand. It's going to
Yeah.
be interesting.
To me, the pinnacle of everything that we worked for last year
Mhm.
to get to Manchester Pride, the pinnacle for me was when I walked around the corner
Mhm.
when we actually joined the full parade.
Yeah.
And I turned around and I saw Booper wearing their diversity T-shirts,
Yeah.
smiling, waving, cheering.
yeah.
One young guy turned around to me. He was crying his eyes out. I couldn't fathom out why. And I said, they're supposed to be happy.
Yeah.
And he went, I am happy. And I looked at him and I said, what do you mean? And he said, for the first time in a really long time, I feel as though I belong. And that's down to you guys getting us here.
Yeah.
That's what diversity is about.
Good.
And that's what I want to get out of the Pink Picnic is to see Booper stand there and stand up for what we really truly
Well, I
are.
would definitely say you're going to do that at this year's event. So obviously
What a way
you're
to finish the
working.
interview with that
Absolutely.
sentence, isn't it? Like one sentence.
You're on your office
sorted.
next.
Well, at least if you have to work the picnic, you'd be crying your eyes out by the end of it, and then you can come join us at the after party just to go, what a day. Fantastic.
That's a date.
Thank you so much for joining us, and
Thank you
we'll
for the
see you
invite.
in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
So that is the first one done. Can
Brilliant.
you believe it?
I'm looking forward to many more.
So we've done a live, we've done a podcast. What's next for us?
Oh, I don't know.
Good.
I don't want to be on. I don't want to be on screen. I'm quite happy behind a microphone like this.
Oh, so
Quite happy.
We'll keep the podcast then.
Thank you very much for listening. No, it's massively appreciated, and thanks for all the guests that have come in today. It's been really cool.
Absolutely. So if you are interested in what we've if you are enjoyed what you listened to, obviously keep following us. Click that little follow button. If not, we will see you all at the Picnic on Saturday, the 22nd of June in Peel Park, Salford.